how did you get started in high ticket sales?
I was working a job in Nike, but I said, how can I do something that I can gain a skill? I saw this company and they said you could make 1,000 to 3,000, 3,000 to 5,000 a month.
Nike company is so smart. They literally get so much ROI from like one employee.
They got
That's
so much ROI from these.
What was the transition like from door to door to remote sales?
I was thinking about how to make online money. So I literally Googled how to do sales online.
You know what's interesting? I started listening to this book called The Millionaire Fast Lane.
High ticket sales is very different from every type of sales.
Someone's completely ignorant. Maybe someone like don't have any sales experience. What would you tell them? Like,
get a mentorship.
Any book recommendations?
My favorite book of all time is Think and Grow Rich.
People are like caught up. Oh, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm watching reels about mindset and growth, but they're still at the same stage. You were in your deathbed, and what would you tell that younger self? All right, what's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome again with another episode of the Creators Podcast. It's been a while since we created another one, but I have a very, very special guest and long-awaited one. I know we've tried to schedule this, but there's the man, the myth, legend, Joshua Ajayi, all the way from. It's Ajayi, right? I'm not
it's
killing you.
Close. Ajayi is pretty close.
Ajayi, okay, Ajayi,
yeah.
And then. Bro, like some of my homies back from middle school are gonna kill me from this because I have some. Your roots are what? Like which?
Nigerian. My parents are Nigerian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I have some homies back at Washington. A lot of Nigerian friends I had, and they were like, I'd always have a hard time with their last name. But...
Oh, honestly, I don't even blame you. Sometimes I don't even know them myself. So.
Yeah, okay, it's fine. But I know you're in Ireland right now, right?
Yes.
Ireland.
Yes.
In sales, closer, killer guy. But yeah, bro. I think one thing I'm really before we even dive right into it, bro. Like I've been tuning in at your journey, bro. I think you're probably one of the most humblest guy and one of the most hardworking guy that I've met in terms of like just observing in the online space and the realist guy too, right? Because a lot of people in the online space or just in money making online industries like put up this persona, but so far you've shown like authenticity, and it's hard to come by. And I think I commend you for that, for just being real to people in terms of like helping them out and all that good stuff. Right?
Appreciate it a lot. That means a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And bro, how does Ireland produce such killer sales reps, bro? Like out of nowhere, I just started hearing like, bro, Ireland makes the best closers. They're like the best at sales. Like, how does that happen?
I don't even know what it is. I've been thinking about this as well recently. I mean, like, okay, so we think about like English-speaking countries, like English first.
Yeah.
Like, there is only like in the UK, Ireland, America, Australia. I guess you can say Canada as the Americas as well, like as in like native speaking English. So you've got the Australians, they're a little bit too far away, so they don't really get involved in our industry over here.
Yeah.
We have the British. We know those people are great entrepreneurs and business people in general.
Yep.
We've got the Americans, again, just amazing at business. And I think Ireland is such a small country, but I think for sales, like it actually comes down to the culture. Like because we're such a small people's country, it's a very like friendly environment. And also I think because we're not like so businessy, a lot of Irish people are quite real, right? We're just like real people, and there's this like Irish humor. Second thing is like, because like you don't speak to Irish people that often, like you don't really have a preception opinion really on an Irish person. Really what you think of Irish person, you think of Leprechaun, Green, Conor McGregor drinking.
Bro, I just always think it's Conor McGregor, bro.
So, like you have this like funny predeception. I think that helps because when you say you're Irish, it's almost like our guard goes down. Like, oh, this guy's Irish. Whereas like, you say you're American or you're from anywhere else. It's like, yeah, you're from that country, but there's also millions of other people, and there's been people that maybe you've interacted with before that you know things of, but you probably don't know any Irish person or Irish entrepreneur or any like bad Irish story, even though it exists. So it helps us. And I think that's what actually Irish people use to their advantage, is the natural, like,
that's fair.
Outside of business, even if you go abroad, people are like, oh, you're Irish. That's great.
I know, man. Like, it's just like the accent always gets me. It's like, okay, like you feel like you're attentive right in the get-go. And every closer I know from Ireland, they're just being real and straight up. And I know, like, you've mentioned Australia, they have some great closers over there as well. But, bro, kind of, for the people who's listening right now, how did you get started in, high ticket sales, or even just getting into this online space? I know you're working
Yeah,
at something right now, I want to talk about later, which is
yeah.
Payday, right? But kind of give us a
So
little bit background.
so quite high level overview. When I was growing up, I was always a high level athlete. So I was playing League of Ireland
Okay.
football. So that's like
Okay.
MLS level academy. So I was an academy
Oh,
player
okay.
from 13 till 18, 19. My whole goal was to make it professional. That's all I focused on. As well with academics, I was always just keeping up with school and football. I had no clue about business entrepreneurship because football was what was going to make me a millionaire.
Yep.
Bear in
Yep.
mind, because I was focused on football, I was focused on being successful, making money, and having a career. Now,
Yep.
COVID happened in 2020, and it was my last year of under 19s before first team, and I needed to have a great season to get a first team contract with my club Longford Town. And yeah, so what happened was the COVID came, canceled the season, and I just didn't get that season. And that
Insane.
was like the after that, you've got to go and now and just start playing. So I had to go and decide I think I should go to university now. So 2021 comes around and I end up going
Okay.
to university, studying biotechnology in September. And I went to a good university in Dublin and I started for 3 months and I was like, what the hell? Like physics, all this crap. I just
Yeah.
didn't connect with it. I didn't like it. And that was my point where I was really lost. So I got to the first point of my life when I was lost because before that it
Yeah.
was uncertain. It was football, 3 days a week training, matches, you're playing at the highest level. Then now I
Yeah.
was really a footballer anymore and I was studying biotechnology and I didn't really know it either. So I got to a
Okay.
dark place that 2021 December. And I remember the days where I just didn't even want to get out of my bed because I was just like, I don't want to do this. And like, I was trying to figure things out. And that's when I decided I called my mom and said, I can't do this. She just said, okay, just come home and drop the course and you can start a new course in 2022 September. So that was the plan.
Mm.
Drop out. I've got the whole of 2022, January till September, and I'll go back to
Yeah.
college in September at a new course, reinvigorate myself and do something
Okay.
else. And that's kind of the year where everything started. So I got out and I was like, okay, I've got 7, 8 months. I can earn some money to save. So when I go to college, I've got some money. That's what
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
do. And I was working a job at Nike. And I loved the job at Nike. It was great. It was super
Yeah.
cool, all the perks. But I said, how can I do something that I can gain a skill in the meantime? So if I do something where I can say, yeah, when I graduate in college, I had 8 months where I actually already did some work experience that can add to
Yeah.
my career. That's all I was focused on,
Oh, okay. Okay.
right? I was
So
still
nothing
career
crazy.
focused.
It's just like it's a skill. Like I just
Yeah,
want to stack that up on my resume.
exactly. That was it. Like maybe if I
Okay.
do, then I decided let me do sales because if I do any degree, even science, and I can maybe go into medical sales or business sales, whatever it is. So I decided to start. I saw this company and they said you could make whatever 1 to 3,000, 3 to 5,000 a month, and I was like, oh great, I only make €800 a month. I was 19 and I signed up and I joined, and then I realized there was door to door sales, right, commission only, no
Yeah.
salary.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, what are you doing? My mom said, it's impossible. All these reviews. There was literally reviews online that she was sending me on WhatsApp with people like, you can't make money. It doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. So like,
Yeah.
hey, €100. So I joined it and I just took the challenge, right? I knew naturally I was a
Mm.
communicator, that I was confident, and I've always been a people's person. That's always been.
Mm. Yeah.
So I hit the ground running. The first month I was the top in the region. Second month I was already third in the whole country. And this company
Wow.
is one of the
Well, what are you
largest
guys selling?
home alarm systems. So
Okay.
going around to people, they have an alarm, changing it, or someone who doesn't have an alarm, getting them in and a pin and getting them to actually buy an alarm system for their home. Right. So it wasn't anything, we don't
Yeah.
have solar in Ireland because like it's not sunny enough. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
anything incredible. And yeah, by the third month now, I was first in the company, and this company is one of the largest home security companies in Europe. And I
Mm.
had my own team, and I got to like May, and I had a really good month, and I made like 5K in door-to-door sales.
Wow. Okay. So 5K in door to door. How many, like, do you mind me asking, like, how many door knocks do you do, like doors that you do?
Like
What was the numbers like on that?
when I first started, my first day, I knocked 100 doors.
Okay.
So 100
That's a
doors,
lot.
a lot of doors. It was 6 hours. I was out on my first day. It was freezing cold with my jacket on, my notepad. I knocked 100 doors, my toes froze, and I made no sales. Now, as I started to get better, my KPI got better. So I could do 40 doors, and I could probably get a sale or two, an appointment within those 40 doors. So that's when I started to get really good at like, okay, I
How
don't
long
need.
did it take from like that first day of 100 doors, no sale? Was there an appointment on that first day too, or no? No
No,
appointments.
no, the
Okay.
bro, my first day was brutal. It was a reality check. It was like, bro, like 12 months ago, I was like playing like football, like literally going to play first team, and now I'm
Yeah.
knocking doors in the freezing Irish cold, and I made just getting told no, and I was like, what the heck's going on? It was crazy. It was
Mm.
yeah, it was a crazy time. So I think it took around a month and a half for me to get to the point where I was quite consistent. So I did grow quite fast. Like,
That was really fast. I mean, like you've mentioned that you've been naturally like a people person, right? So like that's like a big lever that you had to like, you easily pulled on the beginning. And do you feel like you working at Nike as well kind of somewhat helped transition on that?
it 100%
No,
did,
no,
because
okay.
at Nike we had this thing called Nike sign up. So when somebody was buying something, I was meant to try and get them to give us their email and set up a
Yeah,
profile so that we could start marketing them and whatever, and I give them receipts. So I convinced them. So, and
yeah.
you could see it on the app who got the most. I set a store record for 17 signups in a day, right? And
Wow.
that
Okay.
kind of sales. I didn't know it at the time, but that was basically me.
Technically, it is sales,
Yeah,
right?
just getting
Did
good
you
at
get
this.
paid from that or no?
No, I mean I got like a 50 euro
Bro,
voucher.
like the Nike and the Nike company is so smart, bro. They literally get so much ROI from like one
Oh,
employee, 17 signups.
they
That's
got
that's
so
like
much ROI from me, bro. I thought like just to get employee of the week, yeah, that's amazing.
yeah. I know it's so interesting in how like it's like the corporate is structured, right? But I'm actually curious. I want to backtrack a little bit for your football career. And when we
Mm,
talk about football, my American viewers, not American football is like
so
soccer,
yeah.
but in America, right? So your football career, that was what you did growing up, practically your entire life.
Yeah, so that was literally what I dreamed about as a kid. Now, I wasn't, this is where the starts of the trait starts to come in, where it doesn't really matter about the person or what I was doing. I wasn't the best talented wise when I first started. Like, I started very late. I started
Yeah.
only, I was like 11 or 12. Most guys would have been
Mm-mm.
playing football from
Oh
6. So
yeah,
I started
100%.
really late. I was a bench warmer on my local club until I
Yeah,
was like 13. But this is where the delusional streak started. I was really delusional, and I believed that like
yeah,
I could just be good. And during one summer, I just went to the pitch and I went out on the pitch every single day, practicing, watching YouTube videos on these sort of set of cones, and I would go down for 5 hours. And then that summer,
yeah,
I applied to go for some trials, and I got selected for the League of Ireland, which was they were bringing out this new league, and it was for the under 15s, the
yeah.
best talents in the country, and that's when my career skied up. But that was the first point of me proving something to people without anybody having to tell me that like I can actually do it. It's like
Hmm.
nobody would have said I would make. I was not playing for my club. I wouldn't make the squads for like special talents in the county. But then
Yeah.
I went ahead and just like delusionally made it happen, and then I ended up
Well,
becoming.
what was that like? Was there like a baseline for you on like having that delusional or like even like that mindset of like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm upset about this because like technically like there was no somewhat proof of concept beforehand, right? It's just more of
No,
like, let's just do this now.
I think honestly, it's just from God. It's just an inner drive and an
Mm,
inner belief that since I've been a kid, since I was one of those kids where I wouldn't be the shy one in a room, right? I'm never shy. I had that natural confidence as a child. Like, if I was first day of school, there's a picture of me and my best friend, who's still my best friend, and we were starting school at 4, and he's like sitting like this, and I'm sitting there right beside him, like so happy, like.
yeah, yeah.
So I think that sort of confidence has always been a natural thing in me, and it always like
Uh,
there's always a normal happiness and a confidence that I believe in myself. Um, and I always want to be. I want to be important. I want to be the best, and that was always something I've
yeah.
had. So I didn't not like not being the best. So I have to go
Is
make
that
it.
interesting? Like, like growing up, you have like this set characteristics. Do you think it's learned or is it like more nature?
It's a great question, because I mean, it could be from my mom. It could be the way I was brought up, but I think honestly it was just there, and that's
Mm.
why sometimes it's hard to know what things are nature. And obviously I've built other things onto my
Yeah.
characteristics. That is, if anyone has a gift, we all have gifts, I believe, when we start, regardless. Some of us are
Yeah.
naturally more intuitive, creative, even as kids, you can see this stuff. That was my gift, was
Yeah.
just a natural charisma and drive to be, I'm the best. I always wanted to be seen. I always wanted to win. I always wanted
Yes.
to have first in this thing.
That's a, that's interesting because it's like you see those characteristics, and I've noticed like some of the best, people that succeed in sales, they have some that type of like characteristic growing up in their
Yes,
childhood, right? And
yes.
that's the reason why I was like, okay, well, how does that now relate to you getting into sales? Like, did you try anything else beforehand, or like,
Um,
for example, all the other business opportunities out there, or is like, oh, sales and remote sales, and then
Funny enough, there's a part of my story, and this will be the first time I mentioned that nobody really actually knows. But like when I was 16, so when I was still playing football, 16, one summer I saw a TikTok about this guy from Ireland called Matthew Copy, and he was doing copywriting, and he was like, "Here's how you can make 5K as a copywriter," and I was like,
okay,
"That's incredible!" So I bought his program. It was like $97, and I started to
okay,
learn how to do copyright. And I bought some books. I still have one here, the Boron Letters, and I started
oh
reading about
wow,
writing, learning about copy. And then this is way before instantly and cold email existed. I was talking about this to my boy totally before this week. And so I was
yeah,
sending out emails to dentists, like writing each one. And I was getting the leads off like Rocket Reach, where I would get like maybe 10 leads every like day, and then email
yeah,
them one by one, thinking. So I did that for around 3 months or 2 months. Nothing happened. And the reason was, in Ireland, there's not that entrepreneurial society, and I hadn't found money Twitter. So I didn't
mm,
know that there was an actual industry like this that existed, and I didn't know
yeah,
that other people doing it. So if I had found money Twitter at that time, I would have been like, "Oh wow, this is real. There's other guys. Let me learn." But it was just me and this random TikTok I saw, and like, kind of, I don't know if it's possible. So then I stopped, and I never
uh,
went back. But I still go back till this day that gave me a natural learning of copy and marketing, because I learned about copy and persuasion
yeah.
technically back then, and then forgot about it for like 3 years.
Yeah, because I think like copywriting, sales, marketing,
It's the
all
same.
of them goes hand in hand. It's
Yeah,
practically the same thing, right?
same.
Like
Yeah.
the sales framework, like the copywriting, like getting the
Yes.
hook, creating
Yes.
conflict, all those things. It's funny that you mentioned that you started copywriting. It's not until just this past few months when I started diving deeper into like on how to write a good copy. Like I
Mm,
didn't really know how much impact it makes. For me, like it was more of like I had this belief about like sales is it's only for like these sleazy salesmen, and all I need to do is like focus on marketing and people
yeah.
will just you know buy my products. It's so interesting in how it works out. But for you, so what was the transition like from from door to door to remote sales? What was that like?
Yeah. So basically, I just was meant to be going back to college that September, and it come to September around August, and my mom's not gonna let me not go back to college for door-to-door sales. So I was like, bro, I gotta like figure out how to make something real like that I can not go back. And I met a mentor, as you know, Gareth Campbell. At the time,
Hmm.
he was just starting. I just found him somewhere on Twitter, and I started to work with him. And I was like, listen, I'm doing great in door to door, but I need to do this online. And the
Yeah.
way I got into this was I was thinking about how to make online money, and I didn't want to learn drop shipping. I didn't want to start learning marketing. And I was like, started learning Facebook ads, but I was like, I do this sales job during my day. How can I like leverage this skill I'm already flipping good at? So I literally Googled how to do sales online,
Ah, okay.
right? Or business models with sales online. And that's literally where I fell across a YouTube video. And I was like,
Okay.
wait, here it is. This is how I do become an online business person. And yeah, long story short, that transition was interesting. It took me a couple of months to get used to it. I think high ticket sales is very different from every type of sales. Like if you did door to door, or people who say they work in like a
Yeah.
store and they've done sales, phone sales, those stuff are a little bit more intuitive and just like
Mhm.
networking. High ticket sales is like a philosophy. It's things you've got to learn. It's structures.
Mhm.
So I had to go back to a beginner mindset,
Yeah.
and kind of like relearn everything over the summer.
What are some of the differences you've noticed on like door to door and kind of like high ticket sales?
I mean, with door to door, it's a harsher push. It's a anything other sale. It's a very persuasive. It's actually closer to the sleazy salesman than high ticket sales. Any other sort of sales. Whether you know this, if you go to a shop and you want to buy a phone, and the
Oh
guy's
yeah,
trying to sell you the other phone, he's pretty forced. He's kind of like, listen, we've got a
yeah.
great phone, and listen, I'll give you it. And like you can feel it. High ticket sales is subtle. It's more of a consultative approach where you do
Uh-huh.
questioning, you work on persuasion and different points of psychology, you pull themselves closer, you push them away. It's a bit more of a psychological battle that goes on underneath rather than door to door and those sort of like in-person sales, in my opinion.
Mm. So it's ultimately it's like the high ticket sales. Like what how do you feel is I want to like dive into this because
Mm.
so you invested into a program like when you transitioned into remote sales. I'm curious, a lot of people might be watching this video and like, well, why didn't you just go directly in applying for jobs if you already have that? I'm
Yeah,
curious on your thought process and how
I mean,
you ended up deciding.
I didn't know how to get into the industry, and I didn't know where to
Okay.
find these jobs. So
Yeah.
I've always been one where, listen, if somebody's already doing it, I will just learn from you and do the same thing that you're doing. And when I was in door to door, I did the similar thing. Like I always
Mm.
remember when I started, I knew the names of the people who were top three in the company. And there was an event, and I went and I sat beside the guy. He was 50 something and he was making a lot of money. I sat beside him in the morning when everybody else was eating, chatting, and I started asking him about how his script. And I realized this guy was doing things like not the way we were taught about it. He had his own script, his
Yeah.
own thing. And I just copied it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's how I started doing well. So same thing I'm thinking here, which is I don't know this high ticket sales industry. I don't know how to find roles. Who is a guy that I think has done it, is good, and I'm just literally gonna copy him. So that's why I paid for that. And it was
Mm.
like nearly all the money I had in my bank account. I didn't even tell my mom I paid for it. I just paid for it.
How do you feel like that impacted your growth, right? Like getting into high ticket sales if you just investing instead of like trying to figure everything your
Oh
own.
my God. It saved me so much time guessing. Because here's the thing,
Yeah.
no one's genius, right? Everybody knows the quote, don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
But people still think there's a pride in like, you know what? No, I'm just gonna do it myself and I'm not gonna let you tell me how to do it. And
Yeah.
I could have gone and wasted 12 months, but instead I accelerated my growth, right? And I will always do that and continue to do that for the rest of my life. And if the faster people understand that people like me, yourself, our friends, literally go find people who are smarter, and we just literally take their
Yeah.
things, learn it, and then do the same thing, like
Exactly.
the quicker you can move. It's just a
Yeah, it's so interesting. There's a point where you kind of like you just invested so much money and then you just started making so many friends that they know someone that has access to a specific program and they
yes.
close to a specific person and you
Yeah.
get access to their program too that
And
costs
now
like
you're just
thousands of
stacking.
dollars.
Yes, now you're just skill stacking.
Yeah, and then there's like so much like course. I'm like, okay, well, which one do I want to learn this, this
Yeah,
season of my life, right?
yeah.
And for you, like, kind of give us a glimpse of like your journey with remote sales, like your first offer, like what was that
Yeah.
like, your commission, and
So
any face, roadblocks that you face at the beginning.
100%. So in the beginning, in the summer when I first started, I actually decided to go help Gareth out, and I offered to do sales for him because he didn't have any
Yeah.
salesperson, and I messaged him. So I started taking some calls for him while I was still doing door to door. I still remember to this day I took a sale while I was in the field. So I did a remote closing call on my phone, a Zoom call, while I was also on the work doing door to door sales, and I closed the guy for like 4K. And every
It's insane.
Storm. Sorry.
Okay, you're back. You're back. You're back.
Oops. Sorry, do you know Derek Storm?
Derek Storm. No, I don't know who the guy is. If I
Uh,
see a face, I probably know him.
so he was he ended up crushing it like in sales afterwards and everything. But I took that call in the field and I was doing door to door. So I was still figuring it out. I wasn't making a lot of money there. I was just a beginner too. I applied for
Yeah.
some of the roles. as well. One or two of them, I got into there, and within the first 2 weeks, I knew this wasn't the one, and I left them.
Yeah.
So that all happened in the space of 5 weeks, and then I made a point to myself. Again, I went to go speak to the people who are better than me, the bigger guys in the space, and I asked them, how do you get into the better role? And they told me, listen, it's not always also about the skill. It's about what offer you're on, right? An
Yep.
okay
Yep.
rep can make a lot of money on a great offer, and a great rep will
Yeah.
make not a lot of money on a trash one.
100%.
They taught me about scouting for my role. So they said, your role has to have a minimum 100 to whatever thousand per month.
Yep.
And to be able to make 10K, you must know that there is only one other person there. And if they're making 10K, you can do it. So then I took that mindset, and I actually didn't purposely get a sales role for nearly 6-7 weeks. And I'd quit my door-to-door at this point. I didn't have a job. It was coming up to September when I was meant to be going back to summer to college. It was literally 2 weeks to when I was meant to go back to college. I'd already accepted the offer. I had my accommodation, and I was waiting that I need to get the right offer, because I can only not go to college if I get the right one. Literally, like 2 weeks before I meant to go back, I see this offer come in. The Rainmaker family, they were doing $1 million per month from like challenge funnels, and they wanted to launch a new sales team. And this sales team's KPI was to get to 300,000 in the first like 60 days. And I went in, I applied. I at this point had not a lot of experience in high ticket sales. And my sales manager, the guy who was interviewing, nearly didn't let me through the first round. But he was like, listen, you don't have the experience that I'm looking for this team, but I'm going to give you the chance because there's something, right? And he can back it till this day. He was a leader of a SWAT level sniper team in the US. He's an amazing guy, one of my great guys. And he was like, I'm going to let you go to the next round, and I'm going to do a mock call with you. So I prepped like crazy, came on, did the mock call, and he was like, wow, like you really, really impressed me. And like, I just showed him, like, I wanted this. Like, there was guys there with more experience, and I'm sure he had 20 interviews, and he was only picking 4 people. Then I got the email back, and I was in Canada. I went to go see my cousins. I was coming back home, preparing to go to college. I got the email. Hey, I want to extend this offer to you to join the team. And boom, I knew that was it. I knew it matched all the metrics I needed. I decided then and then, okay, I didn't make 10K before I started college, but this is the one. So I told my mom, hey, listen, mom, I'm not going to go to college, right? I got this new.
But you haven't even made a single penny off of it yet, though.
And my mom didn't talk to me for like a month and a bit while I was in this house. And I sat in this chair. That's why I came back. I remember I sat in this chair and I locked in for 30 days. And in my first 30 days, I made a big 1,000 euro, right? I made 1K my first 30 days, but it was a ramp up, right? You got to ramp up. And then in my second month, I made 11K. And that was
big.
I brought in 110,000 revenue. I just turned 20 October 2022, and that was it. That was,
backtracking. So how did you get the final offer, the offer that you ended up getting?
So it was through Gareth. It was through it was through my mentor.
Oh, there you go. So it's like being part of community, just being connected, 100%. Right?
I would have never got near that a good offer like that had I not been in a community, right? Like just any community, just find a community and just be with somebody who knows people. Like it's so simple.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I know right now you're working on, you have Affinity Sales. How long have you guys been running that?
So we've been running that now for the last 18 months. So in this period that everything was happening with door-to-door and doing 10K, I started posting on Twitter, as you know. So people saw my journey from posting, knocked 50 doors, made 100 euro today, to I made 11K, and I built a little cult following in Ireland here in the UK. So January last year, a couple of thousand followers. I used to jump on calls like this and give advice every single day to people. And I was like, let's just help out. So we started off and we said we'd do 2 calls a day, Tuesday and Thursday for free. And we did it from January last year till August for free for 8 months. And we just did 2 calls a week, like literally just giving like value. Like, and it was in a Telegram group, and we grew to 1,000 people in the Telegram group, and it was crazy. And that's how Affinity came. And for me, it was like giving back to the Irish community and giving back something that I didn't have, which, as you said, is how do I make it easier for people, right? And that's what it was.
That's awesome, man. So how can they like someone like okay like what was for example if someone's complete beginner, right? Like how can I get into this space? Like I don't, you had sales experience when you got into it. Maybe someone like I don't have any sales experience, but this is really interesting to me. I want to learn this the
Mm,
skill of sales. What would you tell them? Like if you were to maybe go back yourself
mm.
at scratch, like what would you do now?
The biggest thing I would say is we mentioned, get a mentorship, get a course, get a program. I do not know one successful person who has never said either on the lines of, back when I first started, I bought Ty Lopez's I'm here in my garage course, or I bought Iman Gatzi's program, or I bought this.
Yeah,
Every single mastermind I go to, the millionaire, they will always talk about it. Same with mine,
yeah,
same with Elijah. Go
yeah,
and find yourself a community, find a mentor. Unless you think you are Steve Jobs and or like you are, the next coming of Mark Zuckerberg and you're just a genius, maybe you can do it by yourself. But if not, find that group and find the community fast. The faster you can get somewhere, the quicker
yeah,
you leverage. Because what is going to happen there is that person then will give you the roadmap, right? They will tell you exactly what you need to do. So learn this for a couple of weeks, then start applying for this, and then you come here and they'll tell you this will take X amount of time. Then it's now down to you just to do the work. You don't need to
yeah,
worry about strategizing. You don't need to worry about figuring out how this stuff works. All you need to worry about is, do I show up every day and do the thing that I've been told to do, which is watch this video, learn this sales training, show up to this call. Then it's just you do
mhm,
what you
yeah.
work, and then naturally you'll get what you want. And that's the easiest advice I can say to anybody getting
Yeah.
into the industry.
That's fair. And for you, what was that like, that experience? Because I know you've mentioned to me that there was a point where you're not even making any money at all when you got into it, or you're like 6 weeks of zero results, or for like not really getting anything,
Yeah,
right? And you quit college already, and you're like, I'm sure there was some pressure as well with the
yeah,
parents, the fam,
100%.
and then I want to talk about that, but I want
Oh
to I
my
want you to
God.
answer this first, right? So.
It's a Nigerian family, so you know what's going to be like with an immigrant family,
Like,
bro.
oh my God, Joshua.
Jeez. Oh my God, bro. I had the whole international council of aunties and uncles.
Yeah. So, what was it like? Like, bring us back to that memory of yourself. 6 weeks, no results. What was your thought process like? How did you like? It's gonna come, like, because it was one for even first month, 1K. That's like it's not bad, It's after waiting for that long, and eventually it's 11K, right? At second month, but bring us back on that time when you were like on the trenches, not getting any
Yeah,
results, but still showing up every day. What does it look like? Your daily routine, and kind of like how were you
yeah.
feeling?
So I think with the trenches, it's the peak time of the most delusional you'll ever be, right? Because I think after you've done it once, you'll still be delusional for the next goals, but you have proof that you've been delusional before and it worked. So it's a little bit different. The first
Yeah,
time is it's pure, it's pure faith, and just you have to say to yourself, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to be all in. And how do you get to that stage is watching podcasts, right? I had to motivate myself with podcasts. I would wake up every day in the
yeah,
shower, right? I would have like, those motivational like YouTube videos, like,
yeah, yeah,
hey,
yeah,
gotta wake up each morning and no, I gotta
yeah.
keep working hard. That was literally me. Like,
Bro, I can relate so much on that.
bro,
Yeah, yeah,
and like, I actually had a real like round memory moment because like I used to wake up when I listened to this guy's podcast one day, Adam Power, who's this Irish entrepreneur, and he had done
yeah,
really, really well. And I would listen to him in the shower in the morning. And 2 weeks ago, I went to Marbella, and we were actually running. We had an event, and he was there, and I stayed with him and his team, and it was just a cool
wow,
round moment. But it was motivational podcast, and it was the community. So I was on Twitter, so I was seeing that it was possible. Belief didn't come just from delusion. Belief came because I actually saw that other people were doing it. So if others could do it, this is real, right? And it started to expand my mind a little bit more, right? And I was,
yeah,
once you know it, there's no coming back, is what I say. Once you've seen what's possible, it's like if I showed you like one house and you never knew what a house was before, and I show you this
yeah,
bungalow, I'm like, what do you think of this? You're like, wow, that's great. Can I live in it? And I'm like, perfect. But then if you see, and I say, hey, I show you this house and it's like a 6 foot big mansion or whatever, and I'm like, which
yeah,
one do you want? You're like, well, I want the mansion, obviously,
yeah,
because
yeah,
your awareness is expanded. So
yep,
in that stage, it's really what will keep you going was expanding my awareness of like, wow, this was really
Mm,
possible. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first book I ever read, and
yeah.
it changed the way I was thinking. So that's what the trenches were like, and it was lonely. It was very, very lonely. It was
Yeah.
me
100%.
versus me. Really was just me. It was just me versus myself.
Mm. How are you able to keep yourself making sure that, like, because I'm sure there was a time I was like, bro, I'm listening to motivational,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
videos. Like, it's not working, bro.
I mean,
Like, where did he pull that strength of like
yeah.
still pushing through?
I mean, for me, like I've always had a big faith, right? I've always had a real
Yeah.
connection with God, and that's been a big thing for me throughout everything I've ever done.
Mm,
Like knowing that, okay, God has a plan, there's something there for me, and I kind of always lent into that, right? So I
hmm.
really, really lent into that faith, which was like, okay, listen, I'm helpless, I don't really know what's going on, but there's something better than me, bigger than me. I know He can do anything. All things
Yeah.
are possible with God. So like, I don't have to figure it out because when it's just you and it really is just you, it's lonely. So luckily enough, that kept me going a little bit more. And at the same time, it's just as I said, it's just it comes. Those moments come, and there's nothing you can really do about it. Like
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you,
That's true.
you will
That's
go
fair.
through them, and some weeks were really hard, as you said. Like they were hard, but again, if you do, listen to the podcast, maybe one sentence in one podcast gives you that little bit of like, oh, this
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
you can see what he's saying. He went through the same thing. Or you see that one message on Twitter from a guy who's like 6 months, 12 months ago. I was
Yeah.
living in a car. Those spurts of motivation do keep you ticking until you really believe in yourself.
Hmm. What what does that look like though? Because sometimes like when is it too much of like just scrolling through Twitter or just like listening to podcasts and then eventually like okay now you actually have to just do it, right? So like
Do it. Yeah.
how did you make the discernment? Because some people are like caught up on that stage or that just space of like, oh, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm watching reels about mindset and growth, but they're still at the same stage, the past few months, right? So how did you
Um,
make the discernment?
I think it comes from discipline, right? In terms of what I've always realized with my growth, and as you said, like for my brand just being authentic in general, was that
Yeah.
the game of business for me, it's not about the money making scheme. It's not even about sales. For me,
Yeah.
it's about personal development. And because I'm a footballer and I then woke up, I had a schedule. It was called my millionaire checklist, right? And it was wake up, read 30 minutes of a book, right? Go for a walk. I started meditating back then, even though I had no clue like what it was, just did it anyways, because it's
You can start sitting down.
just like, okay, meditate, go to the gym, whatever, write down my goals. So write down my goals, read my goals. So I had this checklist, right? So each day I was getting better. So that's what I want to really, and I would love to hone this in for young people who are watching this or new entrepreneurs or whoever it is that the game is not about, like just making this money here and there. If your main focus is on how can I become better, mind, physically, body each day,
Yeah.
naturally, that compounds like a snowball effect. Then in 40 days later, you're 5 times better than you were before, also meaning that you're 5 times smarter, you perform better, naturally you get better things. So what I notice people
Yeah.
do is they watch the motivational videos, they do the training, but then they let themselves actually regress. So you're
Yeah.
regressing in
Yeah.
other areas. So you're like doing this, you're like going forward, coming back, going forward.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
you're
This is like a
stuck.
loop, bro. Like it's just a
Yes.
cycle of like what do you call that? The valley of despair on
Valley of despair. And it's an
yeah.
Asian philosophy that gets this better, where they call it Kaizen, which is
Hmm.
it's better to make 1% growth every day to make then rather to have a big spurt of motivation, as you said, and do
Uh-huh.
5%, but then like lose focus for 3 weeks.
Yeah. No, that's big. So with that being said, do you getting into making sure that okay, like that's locked in, I'm good, and you being able to the 11K month, second month,
Mm,
how did you slowly now transition in what you're doing? I know you're doing software right now and
yeah.
affinity sales training right now as well. How did that all come about?
So my second month, so I made 11K. First month, I made 11 the next month, and then I quit. Okay. So you really
Okay.
want to you really want to wait. Hold on a minute. Like you're on this offer. It was like one of the hottest offers. It got voted like third fastest info product grown in the US.
Yeah.
And it was like And why did I do that? Because my journey is about growth and not about money. I said to myself, what do I
Big.
to the next
Yeah.
level? Okay, I've proven to myself that I can make 10K, I can close deals, but
Yeah.
like I can continue to do this and build cash. Or what's next? What does it take to be the person that makes 20K a month or 30K a month? And I realized at that stage, you have to be able to offer something like maybe sales management, or maybe you can build funnel,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yep.
maybe you can become a leader. So I decided after the second month, which was okay, I've proven to myself I can do this, meaning if anything goes wrong, I can always come back and do it. I
Yeah.
quit. I quit. And in January last year, then I went into the space of, okay, I'm going to go out and start offering to build sales teams and build businesses, because the team I'd work for, I got to see us going from zero to nearly 400,000 plus a month in like a couple of months. And I saw the highest level. They worked with Russell Brunson's inner circle. So I got to see all these systems. So I was like, okay, I can go and do this. That was tough. So
Yeah.
I talk about something here, and it's people will know this from me. It's called the slingshot effect, where
Okay.
a lot of people don't make growth after a certain level because they expect it to be linear. Meaning,
Mm,
I make 10K, I make 5K. I cannot never not make 10K again. So I have to make sure if I want to make 20, it has to make
yeah.
sense that I'm still making 10. Doesn't exist. Slingshot approach means whenever you want to go somewhere, when you slingshot to 10K a month here, you want to go to 20, guess what? You've got to actually pull it back a little bit further to be able to go further forward.
Mm.
So
I like that concept.
you've got to be willing to go back to propel forward. Your growth looks more like this. And then like this, that's what
Yep.
business and entrepreneurship is. So I understood that early, and I decided, okay, those first 2-3 months of that last year, like I went completely back down to zero purposely. Like I was not making my 10K a month. I was not closing any deals. I was just now being like, okay, how do we get a client? How do we offer sales management? Instead of consulting with some people, figuring out some offers I can help off, work with some shitty offers. Went through the same thing I went
Yeah.
through starting as a high ticket closer, but at the next level. And this is when I started Affinity Sales training so that I could have my own pipeline of salespeople to offer. And that's why we did it for free for so long, because we had our own sales
Wow.
people. So we finally got a really good client in March. One of my cool mentors as well, Colby Johnson, he had done over 300 wholesale deals by the time he was like 25.
Yeah.
And he wanted to launch an offer, which was building call centers. They would build call centers and offer it as a service for companies. So, hey,
Mhm.
you want a call center, we'll build you a team of 5. So he was selling this offer, doing a certain amount of number revenue per month. And we came in and changed the systems, pricing, funnel. And within the first 30 days, we did 100K in the first 30 days. So he hit 6 figures in 30 days of launching that offer. And before that, he had not hit 6 figures at all. So that was when, okay, cool. I now moved into the industry of like building funnels along with building sales teams and those assets, and then getting a revenue share for companies. And that's what would allow me to scale. And that's kind of what we'll talk about, funneled into why Payday actually began, because now we're placing salespeople, building funnels for some clients, and then paying our salespeople from these clients, etc.
Wow. So it's like its own ecosystem essentially, right?
Yes.
So you do the placement and you also do the payday. Yeah, talk about payday right now. Like what do you do in payday? I know it's like a up and coming right now,
Yes.
but what's
So
the
Payday came to my mind around August last year. So working with clients, I realized, when we finish a month, I say we did 100,000 in revenue, and there's going to be 25,000 paid out in terms of commissions at the end of the month. So during the month, things could happen. A, business owner starts spending that money on ads, maybe hoping to get it back, and it doesn't come, so they don't have funds. B, you need to pay people from different countries, and it gets complicated even for us to collect different bank accounts and send it to different places. So we had issues a couple of times with getting paid late. I had always, with clients, gotten paid late revenue share, and it was just normal to me. Like my mom would be like, "Oh, you get paid today?" No, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just waiting a couple of days, and it was normal to me. And then August, I got this idea in my head. I was like, "Wait, I wish." I literally said, "I was like, I wish like." When I close the deal, I said out of frustration, I was like, when I close a deal, why doesn't that money just come to me? Like, I've done my job. You have your 10K. If I'm due 10%, like, I should have my 1K. Why? I've done my service. Why do you have my money? Um,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
literally, like, it just came to my head, but I didn't think of that in the business sense. It was only in January when a member of my community left a role and he was new to sales and he had closed some deals and the offer owner wouldn't pay him around €2,000 in commissions that he was due. And like he came and he mentioned it to me. And at this point I was like, I'm just fed up with this.
yeah,
So I literally looked and I was like, let me find if there's a software online that can do something about this. So I went to Stripe Marketplace to see if they had any softwares that like automate invoice and split it. I went online onto Google. I spoke to deal.com, remote.com. These are payroll platforms, Gusto. And then I was like,
no,
wait,
that's literally good.
there
Yeah,
is nothing? Like, there was genuinely nothing. And this is how I got into Payday. As I told you, I was not a SaaS guy. I just was like
yeah,
so shocked. And then I started looking into it. Okay, let me start looking into what it would look like. And that's when I started to do my research at the start of this year, January, while I was still working on these other projects about what would it look like to do this? What would we need to know? And then I went down the vision. Okay, I'm not a tech guy. I have no clue about this. What I'm going to do is
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm going to build a vision. I'm going to come up with a name. And I'm going to say what we want to do. We want to automate commission payouts for all sales reps. So when they close a deal, it comes to them. No clue how this works. I just wrote out the whole vision, right?
Okay.
I don't even know if it's possible. I'm going to go and find a person or a team that can do that. I'm going to find a agency, a CTO. I'm going to tell them what I want them to do. I'm going to pay them to go figure it out. And then I'm going to go ahead and let them just build it. And I then went to start looking for a partner. I was watching YouTube videos again. This is like me going back to like everything. Remember, I go back to
Yeah,
learning,
yeah.
figuring out again from the scratch. And I found Y Combinator. I'd known about them. And I went to they
Okay.
had this platform, Y Combinator, called the Y Combinator Co-Founders Platform, where you could put your idea in, and there was these like smart people, like Harvard students, Stanford engineers, like big people who were looking to start a software company, no, like a startup company,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they wanted to partner with, let's say, an idea person, and they're the tech person, or maybe a tech person wanted to partner with the person with ideas. So we both go into it. It's kind of like Tinder. You swipe, you read their profile, and it's
Wait,
free.
it's called what? Let's go Y Combinator.
The Y Combinator co-founder platform. So Y Combinator, for people
Okay.
that don't know, is like one of the biggest startup incubators in the world. Like Stripe has come through them. The guy that was the CEO
Oh,
with
okay.
the guy who started OpenAI, Sam Altman, he was their CEO. They basically go and invest in startups and then help the guys build it. Who else was there? DoorDash, all those sort of Silicon
Oh,
Valley
wow.
startups.
Okay.
So they made this platform to help founders meet people. So I met a guy. He was a engineering director in Dublin at MasterCard, pitched in the idea. He thought it was unbelievable. First, he didn't believe me that there was nothing there. So then he left. He Googled it. Then he went to Twitter the next day and he saw a tweet. I kid you not, he saw a tweet and he sent it to him and he was like, wow, this is what you were talking about. And the guy was like, a friend came to me, asked me to help him close a deal, told me how to get 10% of it. I closed a $300,000 deal, due 30%. Once the deal was closed, he tried to change the terms of it. And he was like, it's just really hard. This stuff
Well,
happened. I don't.
that's frustrating. It pisses. So, like, sorry to be sidetrack here, but bro, I've seen that so many times. Some of my guys has happened to them. Like, bro, like there's no solution. Like, you can go to court, but like you're spend
Nobody
more
wants to go
money.
to court because you're going to spend money
No one wants to go to court,
and you're not
right?
going to
Like,
get your money anyway. So now you're basically admitting, okay, I'm not going to get my money then for like 4 months at least.
yeah, it's tough. So it's like I had a guy, bro. That guy had 2K, bro. I had a guy who's due up for like 11K, 11K commish. So a good thing he had someone he knows that does those collections, right?
Mm,
And end up connecting with them. He's from France, and I forget. I haven't updated yet. Like asked him like what the status is if they ended up paying him, but bro, you're solving a really big problem in the market right now, and I think it all roots back to your principle, which is growth, the slingshot effect, right?
mm.
So for that part, I don't know. I want to let you finish your thought first before I ask this question. I know you had
What was I saying? I was talking about
the you met a director
okay,
from yeah.
yes. So met him, started to develop the plan about how it could work, and I did a lot of research myself. So I bought books about banking, like fintech. I started to listen to podcasts about fintech. I bought a little course online from some university about like fintech industry.
Okay.
So I could start figuring out by myself how we could do it, and at least have a general overview. And we went from there. I got my COO, a partner, Sean Duffy. He manages a big sales team as well. He's an engineer, and
Hmm.
we got an outsourced team. And we started to. I did a survey. about it in my community, and I found that 50% of people in our community had been paid late at least once. 50%. That number is too high. That's too crazy,
Yeah.
right? Like 50%. It shouldn't even be over 5%. Like you should
Yeah.
just be getting paid. And that gave me the what you call the belief to say, let's do this. And I actually
Mhm.
dropped some clients that I was working with. I stopped working on another business with some of my partners, and I decided like I'm basically getting out, not going to like do this high ticket thing or like sales management. Like I will still do it on the side, but
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
main focus is Payday, and I don't really care about making the money at what I want to make, whatever this year or in the next couple of months,
Hmm.
because Payday for me, I felt it in my heart that
Wow.
that was it. And I was like, I need to go all in because I can't have partners on this team trying to work on this and trying to recruit great talent if they don't think that the CEO is all in. So how can I attract talent and build a vision if they don't even
Hmm.
believe that their CEO is all in? So I said, I've got to set an example by going all in to show them how serious I think this is. And that feeds down into the team and the people, the type of people I can recruit onto this business, because they're like, wow, he's going all in on it. Meaning, if he's willing to put his whole name and all his net worth and his money on this, it must be serious.
What stage is it currently, Payday? I know you guys did some crowdfunding, if I'm not mistaken, right? And some
So
investing.
we actually didn't like end up raising money at all, really. We had offers from people who wanted to give us angel investment and things, but
Yeah.
we had money from my businesses, and my co-founder also did, and we
Yeah.
decided that we could raise funds ourselves, but we
Mhm.
entered some competitions. So we went to the EU
Yeah. The
Startup
four.
Summit, and we went to the Forbes Family Group
Yeah.
pitch competition. We finished the semi-final there. We came first in the pitch up, and that was more just for marketing, like so people could see that this idea was verified
Okay.
and get the word out early. But where we're at right now is we're pacing fast right now to our first closed beta launch mid-August to end of August. So we're around 4 to 6 weeks away from taking on our first sort of like, we'll take on maybe 2 or 3 companies, work with them
Okay.
in a closed trial for 30 days, take all the feedback, make sure everything's working perfectly. How's it going? How's it looking? Then we'll release it into the market because we've got some
Mhm.
partnerships already lined up. And I know that once we come in,
Yeah.
everybody will want it, so we've got to be on point. We could go to the biggest people really fast, so we got to be ready, and we got to make sure that we're doing it properly.
Oh yeah. 100%. What does that look like right now for you being a founder of Payday, right? Because it's just been a couple months, if not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it's been like maybe four months now, pretty much going all
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. What does that look like?
It's different, right? It's different from our world, which is pretty much instant gratification. Like when you do something, do work, you can make good money, and
Yeah.
it's a lot more repeatable. With startups and things like this, it's more like I'm getting used to, like, I just have to make like one important decision maybe this week. So it's a bit agitating sometimes, like where like I'm
Oh
doing
yeah.
more a lot of research, and it's not about me like building 10 funnels every day right now or taking 10 sales calls. I might just have to like, okay, should this person be on our team, or what pricing structure are we going to work on? And I just decide on, and that's the biggest thing I can do. And there's a period when you're building software where there's this handcuff period where there's not really much else I can do right now than to let the team do what they do. And my role for me right now is build a vision, find the best people possible, and let them do it, and let me get out their way. I'll get out their
Hmm.
way and let them do what's good. And it is difficult. There's things that go back and forth.
Yeah.
There's so many things that can go wrong. And luckily, again, that's why you read books, reading like Founder's Dilemma, so you can get ahead of the
Yeah.
problems. And I
Bro,
can learn
that's a
from
very, really good
mentors
book. Yeah.
before the incidents happen. But I love it because I think for me in general, I always knew I'm an entrepreneur by heart. Like I like
Hmm.
business, and I love our space. But I've always said to people, listen, high ticket sales is it's a vehicle, right? It's a skill, and I love
Yep.
teaching it
Yep.
because it's going to be with you forever. Now, do I think you're going to be doing high ticket sales for 9 years, still closing deals? Honestly, if you were still doing it in 9 years, I would say you've not progressed in your career. Like, I
Right.
think
Right.
it's come in, build a skill, get good at it, and then go and leverage that in other
Yeah.
industries. I
Because
don't
this
know.
was the definition of an entrepreneur, right? Just always growing. So
Exactly.
I'm gonna go back on that, your
Okay.
formula of growth, right? Because I could ask you a lot of technical stuff right now, but I think the most important thing is the principles that you live by.
Yeah.
So this LinkedIn effect that you've mentioned earlier, break it down for us. Like, how do you make sure when to pivot,
Okay.
when to persevere? Because there's times when it's just like, okay, well, maybe I should keep going. I should keep going onto this route.
So the way the slingshot approach works is this. At a core, if you stretch the game out a little bit longer, right? Instead of working in 12 months, right? Stretch this game out in 10 years, right? And say to yourself, okay, cool. What do I want to be at in 10 years? Okay, I want to be a multimillionaire. I want to be worth 10 million. I want to be worth 20 million. Okay, cool. To get to that level, you look at the people who are up there. Now go and look at all their journeys, first of all. And this is something you can do easily. Read books, podcasts. No one's journey was linear. None of them went like this. Some of them were making no money at 24, 27, had a great business, 20, 30, they're worth 10 million. Some of them were broke at 29. And then some of them were working corporate for 9 years, started a business. So then when you realize that it's not linear, that's the first part, because the problem is you need to take away that thought process, because social media teaches us, and also behind the scenes when you do speak to the people who are crushing it, they are also not linear. Their business journey isn't actually linear. It's just that obviously they keep their image linear, so they'll never
Yeah.
look like anything is going wrong, but their business does go through changes. So
Extremely sporadic.
very, and you know this, especially in our field. So once
Yeah.
you've got that thought, and that's okay, now what you've got to say is this. Okay, cool. Now it's just about skill stacking, right? Skill, not even just skill stacking, but character stacking. How do I go from Joshua 1.0, Joshua 2.0, Joshua 3.0, and what do I need to do to get to those? What does he need to learn? Now, sometimes when you learn, you're a beginner again. You've got to be humbled. And when you're a
Mm.
beginner again, you can't expect to command the same amount as when you're going to be an expert at that level. But you will never get to the expert if you do not start as the beginner. Same thing as if you're making your first step into sales. You can't make 10K a month in sales unless you go and start door-to-door appointment setting, make your first couple of thousand, go to the greatness to then learn. Same thing, you want to make 50,000 a month or 100 or whatever. And I believe with most people, that's the difference, is that slingshot and knowing, okay, if you know it's a skill, okay, I want to now,
Yeah.
I'm doing good at this. How do I become the person who can actually offer the service? Okay, I'm going to go learn the service myself. I need to go take 6 months out, 3 months. I'm going to have to go back to the trenches, get good at this, trench it out. But when I get good at offering the service, my income will actually double. And the way I think about it is this. If you're making, let's just give example, 10K a month from January to December, right?
Mhm.
That year you'll make 100K.
Yeah.
Or you make 10K in January, you decide you want to do the slingshot approach and get a skill that's going to be able to make you 50K a month. And I'm only using a year because it's easy. So you make nothing. You make 10K in January and you make nothing in February, nothing in March, nothing in April, right? 1K in May, 1K in June, 1K in July. You've made 13K so far this year only. August, you make another 1K. However, in September, you crack it, it works out, you make 50K, right? In October, you make 75K. In November, you make 75. In December, you make 75. How much more have you just made that year? You've like 4x'd what you would have made just by doing that same thing and making 10K consistently. By going back because you slingshotted, boom, now you're at that number. And those 2 months, those 60 days are worth more than the 8 months of the 10K or whatever you're at. But the problem is that's difficult, because you have to then be able to take that. Like most people nowadays,
Yeah.
we can't do that because of the image of social media, the way business is. But if you look at the real business people, the guys who are selling their company
Yeah.
for 20 million. You don't hear about him because he's probably not making any money. He's probably in his bedroom right now. But in like 3 years, I'll hear about him when I hear this
Yeah.
guy sells his company for 27. And to be
Yeah.
honest, I will say to myself, I'd rather be the person that does that big event and does well at the highest level
Yeah.
than be seen and respected in the middle
Yeah.
time.
You know what's interesting? I started listening to this book called The Millionaire Fast Lane,
Yes.
and it's literally talking about the progress versus the event, right? So a lot of people are still caught up on the event, meaning like for example, a basketball player signing a multi-million-dollar deal, or a football player signing like multi-million-dollar deal, or selling that tech startup, and you see it in the newspaper,
Yeah.
but people forget the progress, right?
Mm.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that, because I don't know, like you look at online and there's a narrative on how entrepreneurship should look like, and you read books, and for some reason it's so different.
It doesn't. That's what I realized when I started to read, especially biographies. If you read biographies like a Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or any other
Yeah.
biographies, or you watch podcasts of like a billionaire or a podcast of 100 million, I was like, wait, why did none of these guys' journeys or careers at all have the same, like the way I was thinking that it actually goes like on money
Yeah.
Twitter? And that's why it's a bit toxic at times. And that's why, you know,
What's your filter when it comes to that? Because it's like sometimes you get like shit, like excuse my language, but
yeah.
you start somewhat comparing yourself, like, oh, like this guy already doing this or
So
whatever,
yeah.
right? So
So
yeah.
that's a very difficult thing that I would say all entrepreneurs struggle with. And people who say they don't even realize it, right? A lot of people do things, certain business models, get to certain revenue marks because of somebody else. And it's like you're doing this business because you want these people to be like friends with you or like be happy for you. Now, I think the biggest thing and the easiest way to do this is blocking it out. So I don't consume a lot. I tweet a lot, but I don't consume. I really
Yeah.
try not to consume. The second part of it is I'm in love with my own story, and I have so much faith in God in my story that I can be happy for somebody else. If somebody made 100,000 this month or whatever, I can be so happy for them because that's their story and their story is their own, and I love that they can own it. But I have
Hmm.
faith and I trust in my own. And if I know where you're headed, right, and you have that confidence, then it's okay. But that's
Yeah.
difficult, right? You need to first of all ask yourself, what do you want, right? What does your ideal life look like? Where do you want to get to? Now, and without anybody else's advice and looking at people, what do you think you need to do to get there, right? And to get there, what would you need to sacrifice right now, right? Maybe you need a slingshot here. Maybe you need to double down here. Maybe you need to do this. Maybe you need to
Yeah.
go back and get this degree or whatever and go and do this. What do you need to do without the advice and the shaming from everybody else? And then come back and know your story and be okay with it. Because then you're going
Hmm.
to hear from somebody else, no, you should do this, or no, you should actually go this way. And when you do that, right, and you focus intrinsically just on yourself and you're confident, you're okay with your own plan and what you want, that's how you can start blocking it out. But it is a daily battle. I genuinely think it's a
Yeah.
hard battle. And I think the easiest way to get over it is feeling a love and a gratefulness for other people's journeys.
Hmm.
So looking at people and genuinely saying, I'm just so
Yeah.
happy for that person. Because if
Yeah.
you win,
100%.
I would have, even if that was me, I would feel great. So I feel great for you. And that's helped. That makes it become less of like oh, you did great, but I kind of wish that was me, which is kind of what it's like. And it's like, oh,
Hmm.
you did great. But nah, okay. Like, I kind of wish I was doing greater, you know?
Yeah. And there's this picture that remind me of that. It's like it talks about like competitors, like, or like I think it was like six-figure entrepreneurs and like multi-millionaire entrepreneurs. The multi-millionaire entrepreneurs are collaborating, and the six-figure entrepreneurs are like in
Competing.
this red ocean competing.
Man, it's so funny that you said that because I've never seen that, but I've said that so many times. Like in our space, we're so like competish and like I'm so open, like even like on simple things like having companies in the same industry, multi-millionaires and people who have companies, like they coexist in industries and they even guess what happens? They even merge. Like PayPal, X and PayPal merged. They were both enemies in the same field, and Elon Musk then merged with the guys from PayPal to become one. In our industry, if you try to partner with another company, oh my God, they would probably screenshot it and post it on Twitter just to be like, look at these guys with us. Like, and it's like, if there was more this in our community, you would actually probably build bigger monopolies and make more money.
Oh
But
yeah,
because you want,
100%.
it's pushed by ego, and that's where ego comes into it. And there's these other side of things where when business without ego is so pure because it's on one goal.
Yeah.
How can we be better? How can we do this service better? And how can we reach more people? Business
Mhm.
with ego is how can I seem more important? How can I do more myself? And how can I beat other people to prove that I'm better? And you've got to balance the both because there is a nice middle where you do need that, that kind of
Yeah.
like believe in yourself,
Yeah.
but you also do need that thing of like, listen, it's not about me, right? I don't really
Mhm.
care. I don't care if people know me or not.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's the same, the universal love, like for example, isekai, right? And then like
Mm.
there's always like that middle ground or the golden line or whatever it is on different principles or different like applicable moments. But
Yeah.
it's like you do need some type of ego to
Yes.
succeed, right? And then you
Yes.
need that humbleness, knowing that okay, in bigger picture, grand scheme of things, I'm not better than everybody else. Like I need to help other people because
Yeah.
that's where
And
fulfillment is.
exactly. And you see it in so many industries like Microsoft and Apple. Like you look at those two and think they're enemies. And I've just read Steve Jobs' book. Like Steve and Bill Gates have been working together for so long. Like Microsoft was working on things for Apple and Apple would work on things for Microsoft, even though they kind of hated each other. They just like, it's not about ego, it's just like about what actually works better for like business. And like they just do it.
Yeah.
That's great. For me, I love people like that. And I think that's how business should be. And I think that's why those people are rewarded. Because I think when
Hmm.
you do things for the greater good in general, right, and you're actually passionate about product or business or just your services, etc., you'll grow
Yeah.
further than people who are just looking for revenue or wanting to do more by
Right.
than being selfish.
Yeah. I mean, for you, bro, like, so you've mentioned earlier, right? Yeah, I think I've noticed this as well. Is like, with hard times, go to God,
Yeah,
putting your faith into Him. Was that brought up in your family, or how does that? Yeah, do you practice it, or
yeah.
like,
So
how
like
did you get
it,
into
it always came from my mom. So my mom from a very young age taught me like about God and like that relationship there. And like, I didn't really have my dad around all the time when I was younger, right? And
Yeah.
my parents ended up splitting. So I didn't really have that person. That's I always felt like God was that kind of like
Mhm.
older side. And I learned about God in a way, in more of like a friendly way. Like I learned about it like in a, hey, this is cool, friendly. It wasn't like forced, shoved down my
Mm.
throat, which I always thank my mom for. And she was always a loving, caring person. So that's the way I looked at it. But then obviously I had to develop my own connection to it. But I think I've always felt there was something more all the time. I never,
Mhm.
not without needing convincing, but then obviously you develop, and I've developed my own ways of understanding it in terms of even other things like learning about like, you read Think and Grow Rich and you learn about the mind and thinking about
Mhm.
things, manifesting and your energy and your feeling, and you try to link all of this into one thing. And I'm big on both sides of those things, and I link them both into the same
Yeah.
thing, which is your mind, your feelings all affect, and there's something else more there. There's something bigger,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, whatever where you're from, but there's something. And that for me, I've also noticed the highest level entrepreneurs, they are serious about that stuff. Super
Yeah.
serious. Like the guys who make real millions are really, really serious about the meditation, their feelings, their energy, their mind, God. Like they are one of my mentors, a Harvard Business School sales coach. He's the one
Yeah.
that's really put me in on this. He's in the VC world. And I noticed that early that the real top guys all have that. So that
Yeah.
shows me that it has an effect.
No, 100%. And for you, like, how have you been kind of like cultivating that in within like your you know, daily basis of like
Yeah.
being in business in the trenches, right?
So I think it comes from like reading. So like I read quite a bit. So like
Mhm.
I don't read like sit down and read books. I like do Audible. So guys, I'm not even like a
Yeah.
geek. Like I hated books, but I hated reading, bro.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
I just like learning, so I just gotta get it done. So I would listen to a lot of Audible books about things like that, about God, about consciousness, about your mind, and then I would do a lot of work because I'll buy courses too. I do
Yeah.
courses inside. I had a mentor as well that I paid also to teach me about those sort of things on the side.
Yeah.
Would join. I have, some groups as well, some Christian groups that I'm a part of that
Yeah.
would join. Just surround myself with those type of people as well, and I just make it like that part is first, and this
Hmm.
stuff is second. Because if this stuff is good, shit, like
Mm.
this stuff just happens. Like I don't even have
It just happens,
I don't even have
right?
to
Yeah.
do anything. Like if I just show up and smile, like it'll happen.
Mhm.
If this stuff, my mind, feeling, thoughts, energy, connection with God is just like 100% there. Like this stuff, I'm
Yeah.
gonna just go about. Like yeah, I'm chilling. Like it's inevitable, and that's that beautiful feeling that it's like it's this like deep faith. Like oh, it's inevitable because it's in
Hmm.
His hands. It's already done. Like so,
Yeah.
that's what I got to do. But just show up, smile, and be a good person. That's all I got. That's all I
Yeah.
do. You know.
Yeah. No, I love that mindset and approach on like business. I think it's so interesting too, because the more you practice it, the more people you start gravitating towards with that type of energy, right? And it's like,
100%.
yeah.
Yes, I would say
And yeah.
1,000%. Then now everybody I'm like in my circle, as you said, seems to also be that type of person too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like a good thing. And I'm curious, like, because you've created such a great circle and, great people around you, right? And how did you cultivate that? I know because you have like really good circle. I know you have a lot of couple business partners as well, right? How are you able to build that network and that circle of like good men around you, right?
I think networking is a skill. So learning to read books about that if you're not naturally good at that. So let's say, for example, influence, what's it called again? How to Win Friends and Influence People is a
Mhm.
really, really good book. So there's things that you can learn from those books. I would say it's being okay. So it's being somebody that first of all is always open to anybody and everybody. I don't just network pick with certain people. I treat every single person the same because you do not know who is who. And when you treat every single person the same, no matter who you meet, your network will naturally grow because the person that you met that you didn't really think was that important, but you talked to them for 20 minutes and gave you a great review. Then when they did speak to that other important person who, when you then spoke to them, told you, I heard about you and you were great, boom. So networking isn't a thing that you just switch on like, oh yeah, now I need to go network with people. If it's gonna sound kind of cheesy and stupid, but it's basically like if you're just a good person to every single person you meet and genuinely take each person as you are important. I don't know how or what, but if I'm speaking to you now for 45 minutes or 10 minutes, like you're important. I want to know you. I want to be your friend. I want to be helpful to
Yeah.
you. If there's any way I can help you, let me know. And because when you count in your life how many people you actually interact with
Yeah.
in like 12 months, whether even in just a DM on Instagram or a message in person or somebody you sit across a bus, you interact with hundreds of people in a year. And those hundreds of people know hundreds of people who know
Mhm.
hundreds of people. So by just take the people that you meet with extreme care, right? And it's the biggest effect of network effect. It's just the knockdown. And that's how a lot of the people I've met, even the way we met, we don't even really know, but it was definitely a
Yeah, we're
knockdown.
just gonna like, oh
Like,
yeah, let's go, Josh. I'm like just
you know,
supporting you on the sidelines.
exactly. Like we never even met each other, but we just be supporting each other because like I
Yeah.
think I met someone he knew and we had that sort of call and then it funnels down to that. So that's my philosophy on networking. And I think when you do that, right, like you don't know who's going to know who and who's going to introduce you to who, right? And that's the way that you win a lot of friends, you win a lot of people, you become valuable, right? For me, that's important.
Mm, that's big. I like this. There's this one quote that I really like. It's about like, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And, if
Yes,
you're the dumbest person in the room, then you're in the right room, right? So,
yes, yes. I think if you're a beginner, as you said, to get people always ask, how do I get in with people though who are like more experienced and who make money and
yeah.
stuff? I think um remember this. If you have come into the mindset that all of us were once you. So if you're a beginner listening to this, I
Hmm.
was once you, and I can still remember it quite vastly because it's only like 18 months ago. It's still so crazy to say, but it's still only like 18 months ago when I made
Yeah.
my first. Like, I still remember being you very much. So that Joshua is still very much alive. And I
Yeah.
care about that guy too. So I would love to help him. So if you come to me and you show me that energy, that passion, and like you're
Yeah.
grinding, you really want to do it, I will feel some way in my heart, like, yo, like this
Yeah.
person, like, I just want to help you because, like, I
Yeah.
remember being in your position. And when you show them that, listen, I know you were there as well, and I want to get big places, and they see that vision, I've always
Yeah.
come with that attitude, and I've always found that the guys on top will always basically see themselves in you and almost want to take you on like their kid, like
Yeah.
their little mentee.
Uh, is that interesting? Like by the look of a person, just hopping on a call with them, or even they don't have any experience, like, okay, this guy got it, you
You
know?
just That's
Like,
the
you know
it
that?
factor. The it factor. You said it earlier about people with sales, like where you can just be good. And I'll always say it like within 20 seconds, whether you have experience or not, I can tell if someone's going to be a good salesperson. No joke. No joke.
Yeah.
It's just like you sense the itness there. And I know there's
Hmm.
people where I've jumped in a call and I can just sense that that's why I'll stay on the call with you for an hour because I feel like you I don't know if you'll follow through, but you've got the potential to do something. And like again, coming back to the network effect, I don't know who you'll be in 5 years. Not that that matters, but like I could be here, but you could be starting right now at 18, and in 4 years' time, you could launch the next biggest tech company in the world, or you could launch
Yeah.
and if I'm someone that you know and I'm a friend, boom, I've got a great connection and a great network. And that's what you see with wealthy people. Bro, they seem to
Mhm.
know, like friend-wise, the people at like other companies. It's like, oh, he went to school with this guy, or they knew each other before, or like they talked to each other when they were younger. Like
Yeah.
they invest in a lot of people. And that's what older people do too. So that's this mindset you need to have as a beginner is older
Yeah.
people do invest in future network with smart and pushing people who are younger
Yeah.
because they potentially see you as being an asset down the line.
Yeah. No, 100%. There was this video I saw from I don't know if you've been seeing that guy, School of Hard Knocks.
I love that. I watch every one of his videos.
Yeah. So there was a guy that was like, no, no, I don't want to interview. But and then he was like, wait, did you interview this guy about like this specific guy's like, oh yeah, okay, cool, I'll do an interview.
Mm.
Just because he was able to interview a specific person that he knows and is a good friend with, like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. It opened doors, right?
Was
It's
that
very interesting.
the recent one that he did? Was it?
I forgot. It's like it's on the sideline. It was like yeah, but I think he was wearing like a white blazer or
Yeah.
something. I
I think I
forgot.
might know the one where he's like, oh, I interviewed the guy, the CEO in this company. And the guy had worked with that company in the past or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was a
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's that guy. Yeah,
yes. That's an example.
yeah. It's a really good stuff in terms of like just networking in general. What's your filter? You know, like in terms of like who you let in your, because I'm sure you have your inner circle, right? Like
Yeah.
what does that look like?
Morals. Morals. That's it. Morals. Do you have good morals? Do you respect people? Is people, humans, the world more important to you than money, right? And do you have the capacity to be like an empathetic, caring person? For me, that's the most important thing. If someone shows any signs of like disrespect to any type of person, prejudice, whether that's to a specific race, gender,
Mhm.
that's any of those, I don't want to be around that person. I would rather sit in a room with a guy that has that sort of like um openness to everybody. He's caring, he's cool, he's like nothing too crazy that, and he doesn't make any money, than be in a room with a guy that's worth 5 million but like he's disrespectful, has those no good morals. I would hate that. So that's all it is for me, is
Yeah,
morals.
that's big. It's really big because I think you really can measure someone's, character when the way they just act, the way they speak, right?
You can
It's
hear
very
it.
interesting. My litmus test has always been like, how do they treat the the waiter, in the
Yes.
restaurant when we go, right? It's like,
Yes.
but do they say thank you, please,
Do they ask
greet
their name?
them?
Like I love to ask their name and joke with them. So do they say exactly? Do they go to the waiter, or do they just kind of like think they're like better than everyone? Oh, I hate. I
I
just do.
don't I don't know if this is you too, but it's so interesting because for me it's like when I see someone interact a specific way with
Mm.
a specific person, for example, a waiter, and then they react a specific way, and I'm like, oh, this person probably had something in their childhood that happened, and the reason why they do it this way, or
Yes,
why they communicate that way.
and I think it's just because like you've got to be able to know people and be able to be aware of like what motivates people, because your circle is the most important thing to you. Now, yes, sometimes you do obviously just have to be in circles with people who could be valuable, and they're, a
Yeah.
good network. And you might not agree with everything they say, but if you can have that good, like, sort of analysis with people, and I feel like if you're a
Uh,
salesperson, you should be. And I would say that's probably what naturally, when I say about what helps me be good at sales, was I feel like I have a sensitivity of energy with people, so I can kind of feel always someone's vibe. So when I was on door to door, I could feel if that person felt a bit too scared, or if I was pushing, and my brain instantly can, like, make a joke instead, because I can feel it. So I've
yeah.
always had this. I can just know, and if you've got that feeling, you can cultivate that. Just cultivate that by observing,
Uh-huh.
right? It's important so that you can know who to trust in your circle, who to be careful of, but then also know how to motivate people. Like, if you know that stuff, then you
Yeah.
know, like, how you can, get people around you
No,
and inspire.
100%. Yeah. What's next for you, man? I mean, I know you're busy working on Payday right now, but what does this season of your life looks like right now, and what are you working towards?
I mean, I think you said it yourself. The season of this life is really getting Payday out there and pushing it. And, like, I really think this is going to be one of the most revolutionary products we've seen in our industry. I think it's, the way Instantly did it for cold email, and we've had, like, Go High Level, and we've had Investor Lift for wholesalers, which is a 9-figure company. I really see that this is just a period where I'm just all in on Payday, building it, and just getting something out there that actually fit. I'm just genuinely so excited to see that first person make commission
Yeah.
that, like, comes to their bank account, that didn't have to wait for it. And I think the next 2 years is that. And whether that's growing it and continue growing it, or whether that's growing it and exiting and stuff like that, that's kind of the vision that I have for myself over the
There.
next couple of years. And it's a big play, it's a long play, but I'm
Mhm.
locked in for it.
I love it. And any book recommendations, for any books you're reading right now as well?
And book recommendations for a beginner, my favorite book of all time is Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
Um, Another really good book I would say is The Magician's Way. It's on Audible. It's a
Mm,
pretty short
never
book.
heard about that yet. I'm gonna add that on mine.
Yeah, The Magician's Way. It's a little cold one. Another one again by Napoleon Hill. It's just he's good at these. Outwitting the Devil. I only read it recently, but what a book.
Really good. So, funny story. When I was moving here in Vegas, and it was like a 19-hour drive from
Yeah.
Washington to Vegas, I was trying to pick like a book to listen to. All of a sudden, I don't know, you just gravitated towards Outwitting the Devil. And I was like, maybe I'll download this. Started playing it. Bro, blew my mind.
Hook.
And yeah, it was insane, man. Like it was on repeat, bro. Like the way it talked about the spiritual warfare, the good and
Yeah.
evil, and the inherent evil from us. Like,
I was
bro.
crazy. Same thing happened to me. I was driving from Alicante to Marbella for the mastermind, like,
Yeah.
5 weeks ago, and it was like an 8-hour drive. And I was literally like,
Hmm.
any recommendations of what I should listen to in a group chat? Someone said Outwitting the Devil, and I threw it on and I listened to the whole thing on the drive. And I, like, if I listen to the audiobook, usually I'll get tired after like an hour or so. But, like,
Yeah, yeah.
I was locked in. I was locked in.
Yeah, yeah. There's something interesting about that book because, like what you said, you fall asleep on a very specific podcast or like even audiobooks, but
Mm.
that book made you so engaged. It's like what is he gonna ask next, or like, oh, what is he
Yes,
gonna answer?
yes.
So
Um,
interesting.
I think that's a great book, and if anyone's into biographies, and I think a great book everybody should know about Steve Jobs. I think
Mm,
one of the most incredible entrepreneurs. I think it's so motivational, and I think for a first-time entrepreneur, anybody, I think it's a great story. I just love it, and I
yeah,
think everyone should read it as well. So those are my book
perfect.
recommendations.
I love it. And I guess my last question for you is, if you were in your deathbed and you were to give yourself an advice, and what would you say to yourself? And the last one would be, how would you want to be remembered by the people that surrounded you,
So
that
what
knew
would I
you?
say to myself on my deathbed
Yeah, what would you say in your deathbed?
about, like, my life, or about, like, advice, or
Or I would say, let's go to this one first. In your deathbed, how would you want to be remembered by the people, the friends, the
yeah,
colleagues, the people that you met in the coffee shop that might have
yeah.
you know,
I think I want to be remembered as somebody who was energetic and charismatic and took every single day as the best day ever, and I would want them to, you know, feel like they knew that no matter what, if that was his last day, I'm sure he had a great day, because he just takes every day with full force and full energy and full happiness. That's what I would want people to remember.
I love it. And if your younger self is right beside you,
Mm.
right, and it's your last day, you know, I know this is like a hypothetical
No, I've actually
situation,
had
right?
something written down for this as well, so this is not bad.
Right. And what would you tell the younger self?
I would tell that younger self to listen to his gut, listen to his heart all the time first. First, close off everything else outside. Listen to your heart, listen to your gut, and trust it 100%. That's advice from your older self. It doesn't fail. And that would give him so
Mhm.
much freedom. That would free him up of every anxiety, every stress, because then he'll just fire on.
Yeah. Bro, I love that. Thank you so much, brother. Like, this has been a great podcast. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I think you have a lot of great things that you're working on right now. If they were wanted to check you out, check out some of your work,
Yeah.
where can they find you?
Josh Talks Biz on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. So it's quite simple. Josh Talks Biz on all
Okay.
platforms. Find me there. And also, I want to say thank you very
Right.
much, Elijah, for
No
having
problem.
me on. I enjoy this as well. Great conversation. Great guy to do a podcast with as well. And hopefully many more. Not hopefully, definitely more to come. We'll do one in person.
100%.
One in
Oh, we
person.
got to, man. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I've been slacking on the visa for the Marbella Spain, bro. I'm like, I still have a Philippine visa, and I'm like, I'm either like debating to do a US passport, because I could have probably applied multiple times now,
Yeah.
but just been slacking on it. But
Bro, we
we'll
need
definitely
you
get the
to
in-person
Europe.
one.
I need you to come out to Spain, Europe, bro. We'll show you around Marbella, Spain. You'd love it.
I got you, brother. But yeah,
Part 2 in Spain. Let's do it.
part two. Yeah, let's do it, man. All right. If you guys have made it this far, appreciate you guys for coming through. And as always, be a creator, not a consumer. Create something
Sure.
today that will inspire you and others. Peace out.